Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Open Innovation Thursdays. My name is Marisol Menendez. I'm hosting this series of interviews every week, 15 minutes conversations with each of the authors of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation, which we have here, published almost a year ago now, because it was published in February 2024. And we review each week each of the chapters with the authors of each of the chapters. I'm an open innovation practitioner and enthusiast. I am founder and CEO of Pilakatu, a company dedicated to research and develop and implement open innovation methodologies and ecosystem orchestration. So as you can see, it's for me a pleasure every week to get the chance to talk, get to know a little bit more and learn about each of the chapters of this amazing book. I'm loving it, by the way, and I'm loving to have the opportunity to discuss with amazing guests such as Karl. Karl, welcome today. Karl-Emanuel Dionne. How are you? Thank you very much for connecting.
Well, thank you so much, Marisol. I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I'm delighted to hear that you're focusing on ecosystem orchestration because that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So thank you so much for having me.
As you can see, I always enjoy the conversations, but when we are hitting the core topics that I work with, I'm get overexcited. So looking forward very much to our conversation. And I always like to begin these discussions by getting to know a little bit more about our guests. I also think there's an inspiration about the careers and the paths that each of you have followed. So can you please introduce yourself and get us a little bit of background about you?
So yeah, right now I'm an assistant professor at HEC Montreal. I've been focusing and I've been excited about open innovation for now more than a decade. And I've been engaged in these both in terms of research and practicing it because from the get-go, I've been involved in the movement Hacking Health that we'll be talking about today. So I've been both an organizer there and a researcher. And I wanted to bring open innovation for healthcare and for to bring it to the world of healthcare where there's dire need for innovation there. And I did feel like open innovation was one of the key to solve some of these of the challenges there in healthcare innovation settings.
This is amazing. Oh, I really like to bring forward many different disciplines into this open innovation world. So this is very exciting. And your chapter is chapter number 32, Events to Expand Knowledge Boundaries for Open Innovation. No, so this is promising. You wrote this together with Paul Carlyle. Um, who is Paul Carlyle? If you can share us a little bit about his own career and what brought you to write this chapter of the book?
So Paul Carlyle is a great scholar who's been involved in writing about and doing research and transforming the way we collaborate and innovate across domains. He's been at the forefront of writing about knowledge boundaries, knowledge work. He's been doing that for over 25 years. He's been very influential in that regard. He's a full professor at the Boston University Questron School of Business, and he's been a great mentor to me. And we've connected together around this field work on hacking health in 2016 when I was doing it. I felt like bringing this context of an open innovation model to his framework on knowledge boundaries was a way to go even further on some of his perspective that were so eye-opening to me and to the practitioner that I was talking with.
Wow, this is so interesting, and I'm excited to discuss about this chapter because of we are getting, in my perspective, or reconnecting to the basic definition of open innovation. If we might recall, it says open innovation is a distributed innovation process based on purposefully managed knowledge flows across organizational boundaries. So, talking about knowledge boundaries connects us to the very basic definition of open innovation. But so this prompts me to ask you, what's this chapter about? What are we talking about in this specific chapter of the book?
So you're touching exactly the starting point of the conversation for that chapter. It's when we look at this definition, we see that knowledge flow and the purposeful management of that knowledge flow is central to open innovation and the notion of boundaries. But we need to understand further what this means because knowledge flow is not only about transferring whether or not you're able to circulate knowledge flows across boundaries. You need to understand what makes it flow, why is it so hard to do it, and how you could actually manage it. And so, building on that question, we used some of the existing knowledge that in the literature about knowledge boundaries and try to more strongly connect a perspective that highlights that some of the challenge of spanning organizational boundaries come from actors having different language, having different interpretations of the world and the challenge ahead, and then having different interests of why they get involved in a project, why they are so attached to their existing knowledge, and how you could bring them to break existing silos.
Oh, so interesting because you are like defining maybe ingredients or levers that we can use to improve, as you were saying, no, these knowledge flows across organizational boundaries. And how do you address that in the chapter?
So first and foremost, this idea of this, once you have this understanding that there are three types of challenges that can occur when you're trying to exchange knowledge across domains and across organizational boundaries, you can try to diagnose what are the challenges that are in front of you. So if there is different language, if there is different interpretation, if there are different interests, these requires different means to address these. One of the things in the chapter that we try to bring forward is that there are specific contexts where these are even more challenging. And open innovation is one context that is much more challenging than traditional innovation within organization. Once you work across organization, each of these organizations have their own methods, they have their own language, they have their own missions. And so because of that, it creates even stronger boundaries. And in the context of the chapter, we were looking at this, but in a phase of product development that is called the fuzzy front end, which is a phase where the level of uncertainty is even higher. So having to negotiate with people who are different from different domains and organization in a context of high uncertainty is even more challenging. So in the chapter, we're trying to show some of the steps that you can take to actually gather the required knowledge that you need to actually solve and understand the problems to solve, then bring some common practices, common methods to translate the knowledge across domains and across organizations, to then be able to experiment to work together and then transform the required knowledge so that you can create more sustainable collaboration across differences.
How interesting. And this is where the ecosystem perspective that you were talking about comes forward, no? Do we need
Exactly.
somehow then a role or a person or an activity that activates this flow of knowledge and understand the differences and address these questions, or what's the way to solve it?
Exactly. So this is one of the challenge that we were seeing and we're trying to address also is that at some level you need to make this very effective. Like you need to be able to manage multiple boundaries without knowing when they're gonna emerge, what are the challenges that will need to be addressed. And so we observed Hacking Health, which is a nonprofit organization that emerged in Montreal and Toronto and Canada, and that developed a structure of events that can help orchestrate all of these steps that I was talking about before. Hacking Health has reached after that more than 40 cities across the globe with this sequence of event approach, and these events they help create these cross-boundary processes. So if you want, I can even tell you about like how this infrastructure for collaboration was built by Hacking Health.
If you can give us an overview, it would be amazing.
So when I started collaborating with Hacking Health, there were only hackathons. And this is hackathons are competition-centric collaboration events where people gather, form teams to solve challenges in like 48 to 72 hours. This has been a method that's been used now for years. But one of the things that was so exciting to observe is that Hacking Health was not able to actually solve all of the challenge it wanted in healthcare, because there was a need to build a stronger and a more effective infrastructure of events. By that, what I mean is that the hackathon itself was not sufficient to bring the required knowledge in the ecosystem to develop the methods so that actors from different worlds are able to talk together, to collaborate, and then to sustain ideas that emerge in hackathons.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the first hackathon was a first step, but then Hacking Health realized, wow, we need to do much more work to help gather people and orchestrate their efforts. So the first step has become organizing what they call cafes.
Okay.
These cafes are mini conferences where people can talk about various topics like geriatric health, like robotics in healthcare. And so they're able to just have like open conversation about topics that are emerging in the world of digital health. Then there are workshops, because once you gather so many people from different worlds, you need to teach them how they can collaborate. Imagine a doctor meeting a programmer. These two people have very different language, different methods, and they're both very valuable. And so, how you bring them to collaborate during the following hackathon is a challenge. And so the workshop would bring tools like design thinking, how to pitch in front of a crowd, how to visually program, and these types of collaborative tools. And then after that, after the hackathon has passed and some winners are selected, they created a boot camp. The boot camp is used to solidify projects so that they can be sustained beyond just a weekend of collaboration.
Wow. So interesting because you are building, well, in this way, they build and identify the barriers and help to cross those knowledge boundaries as we were discussing before. I really like also the approach because we have practice and theory together, which is something that we always aim to bring forward, no, with the cases and the reviews that we are doing here. And I get the understanding that in this chapter we do have practical elements for us practitioners to address these circumstances, but also interesting research lines. We are approaching the end of our session today. So maybe my final question is, what would be your main takeouts or advice for academics and practitioners that are looking into working in knowledge boundaries and what you are proposing in your chapter?
So first, you need to diagnose the type of boundaries, the type of issues you may face when you try to bring collaborative people together. Even if people want to collaborate, they will have some issues. They might have some different interests that they could not have thought of in the first place. Then what's very important, the chapter here is you need to design for that collaboration. So once you have an understanding of the boundaries that you may have to cross, you can design purposefully the kinds of spaces that can then bring these knowledge flows. So for example, why is a hackathon so effective to help people not worry too much about their interests for a short period of time? Is that there's a competitive nature in the hackathon, and there's a game that you're trying to play, and you know how it is, right? Once you enter this type of game, you want to win. So now you have a shared interest in the team. Even if these people are a stranger in the team, they will want to win. And so this design aspect of the structure of hackathon help people put aside their egos, their motivation, their different interests to focus on winning the weekend so that then they can receive more resource to continue and have a longer conversation about developing their project.
Totally, it's a common goal, having a common goal for them. No?
Exactly. So you
Wow.
force that common goal.
So interesting. And really, I see the potential and power into escalating this to create global ecosystems, which is something we are very interesting also in working with. And yeah, so many interesting, good questions and development also to research even more further from this, no?
Yes, a lot more of open question now with this framework, and we've been continuing that research on trying to understand how you can design spaces virtually to do that, how you can design other events to make it more effective, how you can design physical space for this. So there are many places, other industries, other contexts where this could be used very effectively.
Wow. This has been so interesting, Carl. Thank you very much for dedicating this time to talk to us. And well, we invite the audience to please read into the chapter. We are attaching a paper that you also recommend here. Anything to comment about that paper?
So the paper, thank you for hinting at that. The paper has been published in 2024. There are some similarities with the chapter, but it goes even more deeper about how these events can actually uh, develop people's ability to use specific type of boundary processes in their own teams. So by designing these spaces, these events, Hacking Health was actually forcing people to learn new ways of working, to learn the boundary processes, to use in the to be able to actually address their different interests, address their different motivation, and then and try to collaborate for to actually solve the challenges that were ahead.
Amazing. Well, many good questions and areas of research and practice, hints and tricks. So this has been perfect. Thank you very much, Carl, for connecting. Thank you, everyone watching and listening. And well, let's keep crossing knowledge boundaries.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, Marisol. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.